Hey guys, we are here with Case 0, the free test case from FMWC UK. We are 3 members of FMWC UK, very excited to launch the UK chapter of Excel Esports. Today, this is a case written by Harry Watson, who we've got with us, and Giles is going to walk us through a solve of it. How are we feeling, guys?
How are you feeling, Harry?
I'm excited to see what you make of the case. It should be quite a fun one, and we've used your terminology of spreadsheet bin in the description of the case. So hopefully you won't end up there this evening.
I hope not. I'm ill, so I don't feel 100%, and I've got a massive onesie on, and I'm in my cold conservatory. So I just thought I'd explain why I look the way I look. But I'm very happy to be here.
I'm sure it's not the worst setup for solving an Excel problem you've had, Giles, in your New Year's.
Excel on ice.
Excel on ice.
There's a case for the future. Excel on ice. Oh, we've had that, haven't we?
Had that without the banana goes ice skating.
We can go encouraging the other Harry.
There we go. Right, so this case is called A Right Royal Battle Part 1, which fills me with dread, the fact it's called Part 1. Let's go over and see Giles' screen, and let's get started. Harry, do you want to talk us through what this case is?
Okay, so this is a case about kings and queens of England. It's a right royal battle. It's an XL battle. It's royal. It's everything you would expect from an introductory case to the FMWC UK Championship. And Giles is going to be doing some analysis today of the reigns of the first tranche of kings and queens up until the end, up until Elizabeth I, about their reigns and what battles they fought in. So he's doing a battle in which he's analysing other battles.
There we go. What a start. Giles, where are you going to start? Are you going to start with these bonuses, or are you jumping
Oh, hell no. I think the bonuses are the harder part.
Cool. So
I'll do you want me to just walk through? I appreciate people, watching may be looking at this as well, but I can talk a little bit through the kind of instructions, not word for word, and then I'll show you the data we've got. And then my plan really is to just start on levels 1 through to 5. I have seen Dim's solution and most of Nick's, so there's certain bits that I wouldn't have thought of, and I will try and be honest and kind of do as I did. 1 or 2 bits I will just say where I'm like, I saw Dim do this and I actually think it's way better, so I'll do a bit of a mix. And then I'll do the bonuses at the end. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I think, as you say, there's already some great solutions out there, which is really exciting to see people already solving this case and sharing their solutions.
Yeah,
cool.
Love it. I love the fact every time there's a case that's released in various places, you just get about 6 solutions within about a week, which is brilliant.
Absolutely.
And they all have something new in them as well.
Yeah. And obviously for the 2 of you, stop me as I go through. If you have feedback, comments, ideas, like I say, I'm going to try and be relatively honest with how I approached it with a few tweaks. Cool. Do you want me to talk through it? Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. I think if you're going to go through those instructions, maybe zoom in a little bit. There we go.
How's that?
Excellent.
Yeah, okay, so I was really impressed because, as you all know of me, the one thing I don't have is an ego. So I was chuffed to see my own name pop up on the second line of this. Brilliantly written, Harry. Good morrow. Welcome to the UK chapter of the Financial Modelling Cup. I love it. The important part, after you see my name and the talk about the spreadsheet bin, is here. 5 levels, 3 bonus questions. The levels get more difficult bit by bit. We've got a list of kings and queens who ruled between these dates, and we've got a bunch of information about them. So if I show this on screen, we've got the monarchs. We've got reigns here. There's a little bit of a complication where 2 monarchs have second reigns. There's a field that says whether they died at the end of the reign or not with a checkbox, a house, and then some text with various battles. And you can see some of the battles fought in against individual monarchs are blank. None were fought, and then others have multiple, typically split with a comma. And then there's another set of data here, which is a timeline of events. So We're going to use this, I think, on one of the last levels, maybe level 5. Everything else, I think, is really focused on here. So I'll walk through it now. The one thing I didn't do, but I will do, because I saw Dim do it, and I thought it was a great idea, was, I think, setting this up as a table. In my head, when I did this, just because it was a little bit fiddly with merged cells, I didn't bother. And then I saw Dim set the table up, and I thought, God, for literally like 5 seconds effort, that was actually really worth it. So I'm just going to call my table D, and I'm pretty much good to go. And I think you start to see the benefit of that. I don't know if that's too big straight away. So level 1 on the questions here: which royal house do each of the monarchs below belong to? We basically want to do a lookup of the monarch and the house. But the great thing is, now that I've done my table, is I don't have to faff around going between worksheets if I don't want to. I can just call up the name of the table, pull through the monarch field, get used to your tab and your square bracket keys. The return array is going to be D house. Close the brackets, and that's
there we go, making it look easy. Done. I think you're absolutely right. Setting up the table is a great shout. I actually recorded a solve of this earlier where I didn't do that. I'll be posting that in the next couple of days, and kicking myself seeing how quickly you throw that together, having made that table, really does help with solving those things.
Yeah, and I only did it because I saw Dim do it. And again, it's one of those things. A comment came up in the WhatsApp chat recently with the players about Andrew Nye doing a solve where one of the first things he did was move some of the columns. And it's one of those moments where you go, like, oh, God, literally for 5 seconds of tweaking the structure, it saves you a huge amount of stress as you go through the levels. Cool, so that's level 1 done. There's lots of lookups I found in all of these levels, which was good practice. So level 2, in what year did the following kings and queens ascend to the throne? Really similar. I'm going to be looking up the monarch, but this time I want to pull out something from the start. And I think you can actually get away with this, not worrying about the second reign because you're looking for the earliest date. And I did this all in one cell, basically. So again, I'll do it step by step. Looked up the monarch, call up the name of the table. I'm looking up against the monarch field, and then the return array is the start field. And if I just close that, you get the full text string. I don't want the full text string. I want just the year. So I think there's probably a number of ways you could do this, but and I saw Dim did the same thing here. That gets you to the year. You can see it hasn't matched yet, and that's just a data type issue. So it's really just not seeing that as a number yet. So again, you could do the double minus or whatever you want to do. That gets you to level 2.
In practice here, so the reason why I put that in, and this was a comment on Dim's video that he asked, that was it Jean or Juliet? Sorry.
Yeah.
Jean, yes, that's right. About this data type. So in practice, in these cases, what happens is you answer the questions, and then your answers are concatenated into a level code, which you paste into the FlexiQuiz software.
Yeah.
The only reason I put that in, it wasn't about confusing people with data formats. It was just about clarifying you don't want to see any decimals there. So I was trying to be helpful. If that ended up coming off as being unhelpful, I do apologize to anyone who's been confused by that.
I don't think you should apologize at all. I think it's good kind of pedantic practice to make. I mean, how many times in these battles do you see people have to make sure something's converted to a number? So I kind of appreciated it, to be honest.
Absolutely, and that little times by 1 trick, as you say, you can also use minus. That's a great way of really quickly converting within a cell without going elsewhere. I think the opposite I've seen, I've seen Dim do ampersand quotes to concatenate a number with an empty string to go the other way around to get a number into a text.
Gotcha.
Nice little do nothing functions where what they are doing is just changing the type. But
Yeah, just to show people. So you got the double. I hear people call I just call it like a hyphen or whatever you want to call it. You can also use. Is it N?
Yeah.
N's another good one if you type the formula in the right. So this was a Craig Hatmate. Oh. That did not work. No. Why did that not work? Anybody know?
I've not used N an awful lot. I don't know if you have, Harry.
I'm not that familiar with this either. It's one I barely ever use. I normally use number value instead, which sometimes works.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued now to see if I can actually get that to work.
While you're trying to get that to work, it
doesn't. Okay, that's going to annoy me. I don't know. Somebody in the chat can add that.
Yeah.
N doesn't do anything to text. N takes text as a 0 value, but it does, I'm fairly sure, convert, say, true and false into 0 and 1, for instance.
Right. Maybe that's it.
Okay. But that unary operator you've got there, the double negative, that also will take a true false and make it 1s and 0s. That's one of the tricks that I like to use as well. Cool. So level 3. So this is the one where you're looking at battles where you've got this text where you've got comma separated battles because you were just trying to get people to do a little bit of text manipulation there. Was that the plan, Harry?
Yeah, that was the plan. And because this is a sample case as well, I thought I'd be nice and give some hints about how you might do that if you've never seen these functions before.
Excellent.
We won't be so generous in the battles themselves.
There we go.
So I ignored all of your tips and I did it completely. Again, just in the interest of honesty, because other people will have solved this probably using your tips. So I went over to the side. I wasn't. That second rain thing was kind of in my mind as I was going through all these levels. I don't think it's a problem yet. I started, I think, with a text split on this, splitting it by comma, which gives me this. If I just extend that out, gives me the split there. That is the count of the battles. 1, 2, 3, 4 battles, which is, I've forgotten the how many of the battles did they fought? Yeah, cool. So that is kind of the answer that I kind of want to get to. But if you do a counter around text split, this is where my head went. You get the count of the battles, which works apart from where it's blank because it's still returning a cell with an error value in. And I just did a really simple if statement. I was saying if this equals blank, return a 0, otherwise return the logic. Because now I'm sure there are other ways you could do that. That's what I did.
I think one of the big tips I've picked up from watching Andrew Nye's solves, which there aren't many of them, but three-time world champion. Three-time world champion. Yeah. Very often when it gets something like this, he will just manually replace the zeros because it's faster than having to think, if this equals this and 0, he just goes in and within about half a second replaces those with zeros manually, which it's one of those things because you're solving this as a once-off piece of thing. You're not going to get a different data set in 3 months' time and have to run it through the same set of things like you often do in that work setting. You can take those shortcuts. I think that's the hardest thing with these challenges is working out where it's worth taking those shortcuts and where that's going to come back to bite you later because it builds on logic in a later question.
And it sometimes pays to read in advance the whole set of questions at the beginning if you can just spare 30 seconds or something, because otherwise you end up doing what a lot of our seasoned pros did and overcomplicating everything with the table because you thought you needed to use months and days. I might throw something like that in the future, but I'm being kind for now, so...
I think the more we do your cases, the more ammunition you get, Harry. That's the problem.
We haven't touched on it yet. I guess we will soon. But when I first did this and we got onto actually using the dates, I think it's coming up. I spent as much time as Nick Boberg did looking at it going, why the hell are my date functions and logic not working? And it's because the dates start with 1 in 1st of January 1900. But my God, did I start swearing a lot at my computer? I was like, why? What's wrong with my Excel?
I can see the glee in Harry's face that was the result you had.
Drove me nuts. Anyway, I've only partially finished level 3. So now that I've got that extra field, I think I can do another lookup. So monarch against the monarch as the lookup field. The only thing I can't do, and again, to your point, Elliot, I don't really care about future-proofing this. That final array is part of my my table. Not bothered. It gets me to the answer.
There we go.
Just referencing it as a range. So that's level 3. Level 4, where were you during the war? For each of the battles listed, work out which monarch fought in them. So this was a trick that I only picked up when I started practicing these battle cases, which I really, really like. And I think I've seen Jack do this in a few places. But essentially what I was leaning on was, again, doing a lookup, but doing a lookup against a 1 that you identify the position of within a range. So you could do search or find. I think the only difference is wildcards and case sensitivity. If you think of what I want to do, I want to find which monarch fought in this battle. So I want to look up where that battle text pops up in this table field here. If I just do that and I hit enter, that's going to give me a whole list of errors where it's not found in each of the line items of that range. And then wherever it is found, it's going to give me a number. Now, it looks like it's already done all the work for us, but it actually hasn't, because if I pick one, I'm going to have to guess at this, but if I pick, there you go, that was a good guess. So this time I'm getting a number, but it's finding the position of the start of the text string within that position here that it's found it at all. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the second battle listed within that position of this range of text strings. So my mind went to is number. So let's just convert it into that. That's going to give me a bunch of trues and falses. And again, you could do a similar thing that we've done before. I can convert that into a bunch of zeros, and there should be a 1 in one place in that array that's being spilt. And actually that's a bit like a match does. It's kind of giving me the position that I now need to find. So if you think back to the original question, and actually if I just put that link back up there before I forget, what do I want to do? I want to do an X lookup. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the value 1 in that array that I've created. And I want to return the monarch array. The monarch. There you go. Yeah. That should give me the answer.
I think
that was very satisfying to watch.
Yeah, it was very satisfying to watch. I think the minus is something which isn't needed in that case, because you could just search for the true, but turning it into ones and zeros, I think makes it easier to check when you're doing that debugging step earlier on. And anything,
it's a great shout though.
Yeah, so you could just search true instead of the 1 there. But anything that lets you quickly see something.
Yeah, nice.
Seeing the trues and falses can be hard to see where those trues are, whereas the 1 stands out more against a 0. So
yeah, great point.
Tiny little speed ups in these competitions can mean the difference between first place and being eliminated.
Yeah. But there you go. So I really like that. That's definitely a battle tip that I've picked up, or a battle skill that I've picked up from seeing people do that. I think it's a really nice way to find the position of something, text within a string or whatever, within a range, and then search looking for the 1 or the true. It's really cool.
Excellent.
Level 5. So in each case, state the name of the monarch who was on the throne. So there's a couple of things that I did here. Number 1 was, this is the first time we're using the other table. So I did do a lookup on the event against the table of events and the year. I can't remember if I converted it, but I will. I can't remember if that was necessary.
You can get away without doing it.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I'll keep it in just because I've done it now, but fair enough. And then, so this was the first time where I was like, okay, I think I need to do something with this. So I saw Dim did a very similar thing. I was trying to think of loads of fancy solutions for this, and in the end, I went with just duplicating it. So for these 2 rows, I just had duplicates of the monarchs here. I think I then don't need second reign, and I can use these fields to create year start year end, and I pulled out the and again, I will just convert it to a number. I can't remember if it was necessary, but I'm going to pull out the years.
There we go.
And then again, sorry, you're going to say something, Eddie?
I was just going to say that I think that's another great example of there's only two, so it's faster just to insert two rows and duplicate them than to go through a fancy one that will hold up the test of time.
Yeah. And then this is another thing that I'm really trying to train myself mentally into, is to lean more on the kind of natural binary logic of Excel and the array engine. So I don't think you even need a function for this. I think you can do is that date greater than or equal to this multiplied out by is the date less than the end year, and I think that will give you an array. Again, I'm doing the same position thing, so it's going to give me just a single one in that array, which is really looking up all of the monarchs here, and I think I can do another lookup. So again, lots of X lookups.
Making
X
me
lookup,
happy, yeah.
Search for the one in there and return the monarch, and it doesn't really matter now that you've got duplicates in there. Helps if I do the right thing though. What did I do wrong there?
Right
You're
at the
missing the
start.
bracket.
Oh Christ! Yeah, there you go.
It's easy when everyone was watching you, Giles. Yeah, excellent.
So there you go.
I think you both know my love of XLOOKUP. So Harry, you might be unsurprised to hear that I have done an XLOOKUP only version of this.
Jolly good.
So one of the things that I used there, Giles, is rather than doing your turn things into ones and zeros, I skipped all of that. I used the search mode argument of XLOOKUP to find the year that we were looking for, or the next smallest thing in that start year column. So XLOOKUP of the year, looking up in the start reign with the duplicated rows like you did, returning the monarch, search mode -1.
Gotcha.
So I'll be posting a video of that XLOOKUP solution in the next couple of days. But yeah, it just goes to show there's a million and one ways you can cut these things. None of them are wrong. All of them work if they get you to the answer. Yeah, I really do like the searching for a 1 in a trues and false. And I thought the fact that you didn't use any functions there, you just did as you say, using the dynamic array functionality.
Yeah,
that pushing into let's do a no function solve.
I tried thinking if I could do that the other day. Actually, I think trying to do a no function solve for lookups, it's fine if it's just a case of greater than or less than, but when you get more complicated than that and you're actually trying to compare different bits of text, I think that's where it falls over.
Yeah, I think it could very easily get difficult. Excellent. But I think that's all the levels done.
So all levels, then you've got the bonuses.
There
go. There's one thing, it might be this one actually. So there's a mistake in the battle columns. One of the battles took place after the monarch that supposedly fought in died. So what did I do? I think I was okay using the original thing here. So essentially what you're trying to do is, I think I did use the adjusted one because I had the years. Let me have a think. Did I do that? Can't remember. Let me do it on this one. It should work on either. So I think I took a bit of a weird approach to this. Again, that be interesting to get your thoughts on. I know for a fact that having watched Dim's video, if I knew how to use the regex functions properly, this would have made my life a lot easier. But I don't, and I don't know the kind of coding language around it. So what I was trying to do was go, okay, how do I get these numbers out? So I started by doing, let's do text after. And I was thinking, if I can go in here and I can do text after the opening brackets, what does that get me? Well, if I just do it on one, as in one instance of it, it's just going to give me one cell as an output. So that doesn't really help me. But if I had multiple instances, and I didn't really know if this was going to work until I tried it, if I just force an array in, that will actually give me 4 outputs there. It's still not quite right, but it is giving me the starting point. And this was the bit that I didn't know whether it would work, but I then wrapped it in a text before and put the closing brackets, and it got me to the answer. So I was quite chuffed with that, albeit I suspect people will find easier routes to it. Problem you've then got is that this hard-coded array doesn't really work, because sometimes it's not going to be 4 battles, it'll be less. So it started to get a bit complicated, because I lent on a Lambda that I've got in my pack. Lambda, search, count that. You can see that I go for the overly text explanation heavy Lambda route so that I know what I'm doing. So I've got one called LD text count occurrence _ specific character.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and simple. So look at the text, search for the comma +1. And I've just remembered that I haven't put a sequence around this, which would definitely help. So sequence that. Another bracket there, and that will now give me a dynamic list.
Quite a lot going on there, Giles. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
For the sake of anyone watching, sequence, I think, still is something very useful in these competitions, but I certainly haven't seen it in the wild, so to speak, outside of these competitions. So by putting that first
work, it's a nice way of dynamically creating a table of values.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a 1 or 2D array. That first comma is Giles saying, I don't care about how many rows I've got. I just want this many columns. And then your LD text count occurrence specific character function is a custom Lambda, which I assume is just wrapping the whole thing in a substitute to count the number of occurrences or something like that.
Doing one minus the other in terms of the text string length. Obviously, it just looks horrific because that is the name of one of my Lambdas, which is a bit nuts. But I'm not done. I'm not done. So then I was like, okay, well, now what do I do? I don't want that. I want the max of that. So I take it step by step. Let's get to max. And then I remember that I probably need to convert that as well. So that's going to give me the max date. And then I semi-eyeballed this because I was saying this year end is less than that. I think that's what I did. And then I was eyeballing things. So there's a few, I don't care about the values here. I was eyeballing this here. Edward IV, that looks like it's an issue, but actually I had a duplicate here. So the date 1471 was actually fine because I could see it. Went down, next true, and this was the one, I think, where we don't have a duplicate row. Henry V died in 1422, but we've got a battle in 1424. And there was one other down here, which, again, confused me for a minute, but the monarch didn't die.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones. I very almost eyeballed it completely, just went and looked through it. And then I realised Harry had very sneakily not put the battles in order for each of the monarchs. No, some of them are in reverse chronology or otherwise.
I specifically took the decision not to put anything in order just because that data set is sufficiently small that I thought people would just try to eyeball things if I did. Fun facts about how that question came about. So when I was putting together the list of battles, I originally tried using ChatGPT to get a list, and it was wrong, and I had to spend several hours manually going through and checking them and actually doing it properly. So it's all been checked, it's all historically accurate, but I decided, well, ChatGPT's made all these errors and made wild claims about monarchs fighting in battles when they weren't live. I'm going to leave one of these in and get people to find it as a bonus question.
Nice.
That's as good a motivation as anything else, I think. Excellent.
So that was it, and you just had... Sorry, go ahead.
I see, Giles, you've actually put the year in and not what I always do in these bonus questions, which is do all the hard work, get the right answer,
the wrong answer
thing in. So I think normally in one of these battles I'd put something like Henry V in there and be marked wrong because it's asking for the year. It's always a good thing to make sure we're on top
I
of.
probably did it when I first went through and just saw the cross rather than the tick. Which monarch in the list reigned for the longest period of time? So
Put your hands up if you tried to consider the months and the days here.
Yeah, so, which is exactly what I did when I first tried this. So I think I just put years here, and now that I've got these kind of set up, I can get the years. But the problem is I've got duplicates, so you could do like a unique on this. I'm more and more trying to get used to things like group by, where you could say, all right, we'll group that by the years and just sum. And you could probably eyeball it, but you could also do a sort on field 2 in descending order, and that would, I don't really care about the totals, but I can see that Henry III has the longest reign, and there we go. That should give me the answer.
I didn't even consider the second reign when I was writing that question, because I knew it wasn't either of the monarchs that had the second reign in. But then I suppose good to do everything fully. I'm not sure if I picked up on that in the other solutions I watched.
Gave me good practice with group by, so I was happy. And then the final bonus question: which monarchical house was involved in the most battles? I think I was able to just, again, you could probably, I'll do it the other way just so you see it a different way. You could do a unique on the houses. You could then do a sum ifs on the battles against that. Criteria range is that against the house.
I think it's the other way around. You wanted the criteria range to be the range of houses and then the criteria themselves. So the criteria want to be at the end. So the I-32 hash wants to be the last entry in there.
Oh, there you go. You see what happens when I try and do something to be helpful and show people a different way of doing things. So as that works, let me just check. Some range is there. I know. House range is there, and the criteria is there. That should work. Yeah, perfect. All right. So again, you can just eyeball it. This is the house with the most battles. There you go. Full marks. I'm ready to take the stage in Vegas.
There we go. Woo! I think skills like that will have you done in no time. No, I think that was really good. There was some really nice little tricks in there, like the looking up for a 1 in a true and false column that you picked up from Jack. You're good to see that you've got nice descriptive names on your lambdas. I'm always for a descriptive name.
It's crazily descriptive. Problematically descriptive.
Problematically so. I do assume you're not going to be typing them out in full manually every time you want to use one, because Dim will have finished the whole case by the time you type that out. Excellent. I think that was a really neat solve. Harry, how does it feel to see not only Giles solving this, but also seeing such a great response from people like Nick and Dim? And I'm sure by the time we finish this video, there will be many others already online.
I'm very pleased with just how many people have taken an interest in what is essentially a sample case for a local chapter. I put an enormous amount of effort into it, as I do in every case, as any case author ever does. But yes, I was sort of thinking when I wrote it, because I wanted it to be on the easier side, that actually the pros wouldn't necessarily find it as interesting. And wouldn't get as much out of it. So I'm glad that there's something in there for everyone. I
think it's one of those cases where, although in your head it's on the simpler side, there's still lots of intricacies and lots of ways of going about it, and it gives the pros that space to go, I wonder what is the most efficient way of doing this, or what is the fastest way for me to do this, and to actually have fun exploring that. So I think it was a really, really well written case. I think it gave stuff for people of all levels, and I'm hoping we start to see some feedback from some new people trying it out as well, which would be great to see.
You got to love the fact that it caught at least one pro out with the dates before 1900 as well. That's awesome, isn't it? Sorry, Nick. I feel your pain.
I thought it was going to be harder. Well, I mean, people seem to think that if you're called Harry, that you're some sort of sadist, but this simply isn't the case.
Yeah, I mean, census was not an easy case. You threw everything you had at that case. I think the first. I don't know if you've seen that case, Giles, but the first
I don't think
case
so.
that Harry
So why
wrote.
is it at the bottom of all the league tables then in terms of difficulty? Why are people saying it's easy?
I don't think people are necessarily thinking it's easy. I think there's just a lot in there. But no, it was really, I really enjoyed that Kings and Queens thing. Although, as I said before, really nervous about the fact you called it part one.
Yes, well, essentially the story behind that is, and there is going to be a part two, but the Kings and Queens case was one I'd been working on, and as a sort of spoiler to everyone, I have loads of ideas, and essentially there were too many ideas to put in one case.
Yeah, I think
So
always
I
the
gave-
problem with case authors, your brain gets going and you get more ideas than you can cram in. Excellent. I think probably worth just really quickly wrapping up with some thoughts on FMWC UK. Really excited to get that underway. We've launched this case as the test case. We're going to have some online rounds in April, June, and August.
I think that's
yes,
right.
That's right.
Harry is more prepared than me or Giles. Glad to hear it.
Well, no, I was sort of just nodding along. I sort of vaguely remember there are an even-numbered months of the year. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
So you can check out all the details at fmwc.uk, where you can also grab this case from Harry and give it a go. I think Jack posted
not for me personally. If you see me in the street, I can't give it to you, but you can go on to fmwc.uk.
I don't know. I think maybe you need to start carrying multiple thumb drives around just in case, Harry. I think that's the only answer. I think we've also posted a challenge on the LinkedIn page for posting solves of as few functions as possible. Like I said, I have got an XLOOKUP only solve, which will be going live in the next couple of days. That does involve a lot of leaning heavily on things like flash fill and text columns.
Really?
But, I mean, technically not a function. So that'll be good fun to post that. Excellent. Either of you have anything you want to share about FMWC UK?
Yeah, I would just again make the point that you can enter no matter where you're based. So UK residents are the only ones that can really get through to the finals. We're going to send somebody over to Vegas if they win the UK chapter championship. We will pay for their flights and accommodation in Vegas for the Worlds, and they get a spot in day 2, I think, in the Worlds in December. But if you just want to get some practice on some really cool cases that will all have a British quirk to them, then for £15, which is where I live, is probably about 1 pint's worth of money now. You can get access to all of these cases and take part in the rounds, which would be awesome fun if you like this sort of thing.
Absolutely. Harry, what sort of person do you think this is appealing for? Who should be getting involved?
Well, if you have any interest in maths, if you have any interest in IT, if you work in any office job that uses Excel and you want to learn more, then there's something in there for you. But generally speaking, if you like problem solving, there'll be something in here for you. And if you don't know much about Excel yet, don't worry, because this is a great place to practice.
Absolutely. I know on my journey, I only got into the Excel esports stuff probably 6 months after starting using Excel, and now I'm co-running
which is mad,
chapter.
Mad how much you know. We were sat in London last week or the week before, and before we went live on one of the battles I was commentating on, Elliot's teaching me all of these little nuances about Excel. I'm like, God, you only started using Excel 3 years ago.
Take one look at my channel, Giles. You'll see all I know is XLOOKUP. I don't know anything else.
Well, and to anyone else, just if they're wavering, if you get involved with the Excel community and with everyone here, watch videos, take part in the cases, you will just learn a huge amount more, even if you've been using Excel for years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way of learning. Excellent. Well, I think that's everything for now. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Giles. Thank you, Harry.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Elliot.
Until next time, keep excelling.